and welcome to this week's installment of She Will. Thank you so much for everyone for subscribing, and thank you so much for coming on this journey with me. So with that, we're just going to get right into it. So today we're going to be talking about when we make comparisons with other people, meaning when we compare ourselves to others and what the Bible actually says about comparing ourselves to others. One thing that I noticed about women in general is that usually when it comes to comparisons, we compare ourselves on generally 3 different areas. So the first area would be on appearance. She's prettier than me, she's curvier than me, she's skinnier than me, she has clearer skin than me. We compare ourselves in terms of the second one being status. She has more money than me. She has a better car than me. She lives in a better area than me. And then number 3 is based on relationships. She's married, I'm not. She has a lot of friends, I don't. I want to be involved in that social circle. She is and I'm not. So a lot of times we compare ourselves based on those 3 gamuts. And because we compare ourselves there, it could always lead us to feeling inferior or mediocre. It's especially hard because now we live in an age where information is very accessible. You can access someone's information that you hardly even know, or someone that you haven't even talked to. And sometimes we end up comparing ourselves with people who we're not even sure about the comings and goings of their own lives. So I was really intrigued by this, especially this week. And I wanted to reference some scriptures in regards to this. But first, let me start with an anecdote. I was actually at home at Pittsburgh this weekend, and I was driving down the road of my parents' house, and it's a windy road, and it's dark at night. And so I was driving in my dad's SUV, and I'm driving, and a car is coming towards me, another SUV, and there's these bright lights on that car. Their high beams were on. And so as they were coming towards me, I couldn't see because their light was shining so bright, and I was looking at their car so much that I couldn't see. So I had to actually turn my eyes actually towards the side of the lane or the path that I was on, so that I could continue on that path and not be steered off of the road. And I think a lot of times this is how comparisons work. Sometimes someone's light can be shining so brightly that you stop paying attention to your own path and your own things that God has set out for you, and you start looking at someone else's light that they're emanating out, and that could sometimes take you off the path. And if you're not careful, it could help you collide into something that could actually be pretty destructive. So when God kind of revealed that to me, I started really looking into the Word to really think about what God is actually saying when He's saying what you should do when it comes to comparing yourselves to others. So the first verse that He gave me was actually Galatians 6:4-5. And it reads, "Each of you must examine your own actions. Then you can be proud of your own accomplishments without comparing yourselves to others. Assume your own responsibility." So look at this verse, and it pretty much says you need to look at what's going on with you. Don't pay attention to the other people that surround you. Don't pay so much attention to even things going on in the media. You need to pay attention to your own actions and what is going on with you, so that you could celebrate your own accomplishments. And I think it's great that this verse says that, because a lot of times we don't celebrate our own accomplishments because we're blinded by someone else's light, not seeing that God has put us on a path of our own. So it's really important that we take that into consideration. The next verse, which is something that I used to do a lot of people say, well, I don't compare myself to other people. I only compare myself to myself, and I try to be a better version of myself every day. And I'm guilty of having said this, and it was crazy because God even convicted me that that's not appropriate either, because I don't want you to compare yourself to you, because that's not a very good mark to set yourself to. And Corinthians 2:10-12 kind of shows us what God is talking about through that, when he says we wouldn't put ourselves in the same class or compare ourselves to those who are bold enough to make their own recommendations. Certainly, when they measure themselves by themselves and compare themselves to themselves, they show how foolish they are. So God doesn't want us to compare ourselves to ourselves either. But then that might make you ask the question, well then God, what mark should I hold myself to? Every day as a Christian, you should be trying to become more like Christ. Now, we know that we are not perfect, and we're never going to be exactly like Christ. But that is the mark that we should be pressing towards. So I think it's great that God kind of gives us a benchmark that, hey, look, try to be like me. Instead of trying to be like the video vixens that you see on the music videos, instead of trying to be like your best friend, instead of trying to be like everyone else that you see on your news feed, try to be like me. And I think that's what God is trying to get us at. And so I have 4 nuggets that could really help you when it comes to not comparing ourselves to others. The reason why God doesn't want us to compare ourselves to others is because essentially it can lead to jealousy. And one of the verses that I found out about jealousy was James 3:16. For where jealousy and selfish ambition exist, there will be disorder in every vile practice. So you have to understand that jealousy is one of those sins in the Bible that could be very destructive to any person or any relationship. You have to remember that jealousy is what led people to hanging Jesus on the cross. So you don't want jealousy to deep seed in your heart. So here are some things. I just have 4 things that are very important when you are trying to not compare yourselves to others and really live a life where you're always meeting God's mark. The first one is monitor your intake. What are you taking in? Are you watching way too much garbage on TV? Are you constantly on Facebook looking at people with, extraordinary bodies, and it makes you feel one type of way about your body? Are you constantly infiltrating your mind with images of what you think you should be? If you are, really monitor that intake, whatever it takes. Maybe if it means taking a break from social media for a while, maybe if it means not visiting certain pages or websites or not watching certain shows until you feel a little bit better about the situation that you're in. Number 2, surround yourself with people who have a positive self-image. It's very important that you surround yourself with people who are where you want to be. And the reason why is because show me your friends and I'll show you you. So if you surround yourself with people who have positive self-image, who are always speaking life, then you'll begin to speak life and you'll begin to have a positive image. Number 3, learn the things you love about yourself if nothing else ever changed. So right now, thinking about yourself, what are the things you like about yourself? What are the things that you like about your life? Make a list. I did this a couple months ago where I made a list of everything I liked about my life, about myself, about everything that had to do about my life. And after I read that list, I started to realize, wow, there are some things in my life that are really awesome. And there's some things about me that are really, really great. And I need to celebrate those things and I need to monopolize on those things instead of trying to be like everyone else. And number 4, also try to liken yourself the way God wants you to be. Every time you're doing something, in everything you do, you always have to ask yourself, what would God think about this? What would Jesus do in this situation? You always have to think of it like that. Would Jesus compare himself to somebody else? No. Would he be envious of someone else's house or car? No. Would Jesus put himself in a position where he is tempted to be envious of other people? No. So try your best to always be asking yourself, how would God think about the way I'm feeling about myself? What would God tell me about my dealings in regards to how I'm comparing myself and how I'm measuring myself up with the likes of other people? And if you do that, especially if you're doing that on a consistent basis, it will become a habit for you. And it'll really help with not only managing your own self-esteem, but it'll really help with your relationship with God and understanding how much he cares about you, how much he loves you, and honestly, how you are fearfully and wonderfully made. So that's it for this week. If you guys have any comments, any questions, any things that you would like me to talk about, please feel free to reach out to me. Join next week because we are going to be talking about the 29 days of self-discovery. It ends next week. So I'm going to be pulling some of the things that I learned out of my own 29 days of discovery, and hopefully that will help you to kind of motivate you to continue that self-discovery and loving of self. Okay, thank you so much for joining. Always remember, I will, you will, and she will.